Conscious Creative from MuseWorks Audio. The Conscious Creative is a podcast featuring interviews with artists who are doing transformational work in their craft and in their communities. Join us as we discuss different artistic philosophies, give you brand new tools to bring back to your creative spaces, and build a community of artists dedicated to deepening their relationship with their craft. I'm your host, Mike Irish. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to another episode of The Conscious Creative. Today, I spoke with Mike Wickberg, who is a hip-hop artist and producer from Vancouver, BC. He goes by the name of Scythe as an artist. He's known for his work with the Vancouver supergroup Ill-Legitimate, as well as his Beats and Eats videos on Instagram, where you can find him at Scythe_Beats and Eats. We spoke about his origins in hip-hop in Vancouver, as well as his work in Illegitimate's successful Kickstarter and the power of online education for artists, as well as a little bit about food in general, which he's really passionate about, and as am I. Before we get into the show, I want to take a moment to talk about my friends over at Soundfly. They make really incredible online music courses that you can either take on your own with a low-cost subscription or one-on-one with a professional mentor, which I've been doing to help grow my Instagram. It's been a huge help, and I've had growth already in about a month in, and I'm really looking forward to putting all the tools I've learned to use, so you'll be able to see the evidence in 3 months, 6 months, or even a year. It's kind of like a choose your own adventure, but for music education. You can learn beat making, mixing, songwriting, composing, arranging, synths, home recording, and like I said, social media. There's really anything. If you go the mentor route, they'll build a customized learning plan around your personal goals and needs and provide you with in-depth feedback on your work. But if you don't want that hands-on support, the courses are creative and niche enough for you to find your groove and have fun doing it at your own pace. Whether you want to learn how to orchestrate for a string ensemble, build a low-end heavy trap beat in Ableton Live, or brush up on your harmonic theory to make more compelling and emotive music, there's definitely a course for you. And the best part is I've partnered with them to get you 15% off your monthly subscription. So just head over to soundfly.com to sign up and enter code CreativePod15 to let them know I sent you and to start improving on all the musical things you always wanted to learn. My last message before we get into the show is about MuseWorks Audio. I run MuseWorks Audio, a recording and post-production studio in Vernon, BC. But I work mostly online with musicians from all over the world. I really try to honor the creative process in my studio, and when artists work with me, I want them to feel heard and to know that they're working with someone who really cares about their music. During the process, I take a lot of care checking in and informing artists, referencing and revising, and making sure that we're consistently working towards what the artist is hearing. It's really important to me that when the process is complete, the artist is excited to share it with the world. If that sounds like the kind of person you would like to work with on your music, go to www.museworksaudio.com or direct message me on Instagram at MuseWorksAudio to request a quote. We can figure out if we would be a good fit for one another. And without further ado, let's get into the episode with Mike Wickberg. Welcome, Mike, to the Conscious Creative. I really appreciate you taking the time to come and chat with me. I'm really stoked to hear about your time in the Vancouver hip hop scene. As well as talk a little bit about food, which will be pretty cool, and your influences and inspirations in beat making and music in general, man.
Right on, man. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Yes, my pleasure. My pleasure, really.
I'm always down to talk about creative stuff, man. Always.
Cool.
Yeah, man.
So how did you get into hip hop originally?
Originally, it's just I mean, like a lot of kids, right? I think my uncle, I was 11, he gave me a Bone Thugs and Harmony CD. I think as a joke.
Okay, yeah.
My dad's twin brother, and I think he did it as a joke. But that kind of started it off, right? So, and Bone Thugs is like, that's like you're getting right into it, right? So you know. So I got right into it, and by about 13, I was already trying to I was dubbing tapes, and I had a crappy keyboard, and I was doing all sorts of weird stuff and to make like loops out of things so I could rap on them, and like just tape stuff, right? Like just really simple analog stuff. And then I was like, oh, you can. There's this program called Acid 4 Sonic Foundry, right? Sonic Foundry Acid 4. Or it was Acid 1.0 at that time. Um, and I had like I asked my parents if I could get a computer, and I had some money away for school, and they're like, yeah, your grandparents would be cool with you using that for, you know, for something that where you're learning, right? So I get a computer. It was like a really, this is like midnight, late 90s. And yeah, I had just the acid program on there, and I just started kind of making weird beats, man. And it took a lot of years to have them sound anything that somebody would want to rap on, but I spent a lot of years just in my room. I had like a little studio set up. I was skipping school all the time, so I had a lot of time. I had a lot of time to put into that. Like I didn't go at all from age 15 to 17.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, man, that's kind of where it
That's
started for me.
that's so crazy. I mean, now with like YouTube tutorials and stuff like that, I feel like it's so easy to learn how to do stuff. But like
Totally.
doing it back then, you were you learning just like trial and error and
Yeah, yeah.
wow. And sorry, when you said you were doing like the tape stuff, like how was that working?
Well, I'd have a stereo, so I could record sounds off the radio, or I could record sounds from CD because I had two tape decks and then the CD. It was one of those kind of style ones. So I could like dub between the two tapes, or I could dub from the CD, and I could put a line in and then have my keyboard going in. I could do all, and it sounded like garbage, but like I could do that, right? And it was just cool, right? And then around that time, I feel like there started to be like a music composition class in my high school. So like an interesting way for me to like, probably the only reason I was back at school was to go to this course. Um, and I did that a little bit, and that helped a little bit. But yeah, man, it was a lot of trial and error.
Yeah, yeah. I yeah, my hats off to you for grinding that out and like going through that sweat and tears aspect of figuring it all out by yourself, man. That's really impressive.
I mean, it wasn't a lot of like, to be honest, it wasn't a lot of sweat and tears, right? Because I mean, I just wanted to do it. When you're a kid, you're just kind of like, you're happy in the moment of just playing with these things, right? But I got given like a really good opportunity. I think I was like maybe 16, 17, 16 probably. I just met Anon. I've been making beats for like 3 or 4 years and like rapping on these beats, and like I'm not a great rapper, and like I sounded ridiculous with a silly accent, like because everything I heard was, like I didn't have anybody that I could like look up to and be like, that's what it's supposed to sound like where I'm from, right? So um there's this guy Tamim, and he was like a youth counselor, and I was having issues and stuff, and getting kicked out and in school and out of school and going to different schools, like a lot of kids, right? And he was like, "Oh, come out to this show I'm doing at West Richmond Community Center." I grew up in Richmond, and so I went to that show, and it was just like a showcase they were doing, and there's a group called the Usual Suspects performing, and it was Edge One and a guy named Webmatic or Web One, something like that.
Okay.
And Edge One is Penwork now.
Okay. Yeah.
Back
Yeah.
back
Right.
this is 20 years ago,
Yeah.
or like 19 years ago, and I saw them doing their thing, and they were like, and it was just like there was basketball going on. It was kind of like a jam, and like people were rapping, and there's freestyling going on, and I was just taken by it, man. I was just like, oh shit, there's like I can do this. Like there's people around here actually doing this. Like it's not just a closet thing. Because it just felt weird. I was like the wigger in the school, right? And like, and like I'm just like, whoa, I can actually do this now. And then he kind of like took me under his wing, and he like kind of let me throw shows at these community centers and like invite my friends out, and like charge for tickets. And like at 16, 17 years old, I was able to like make money off these community center shows where kids would like sneak Mickey's in and like put it in the Coke bottles, like just like, and I could do like all the community centers in Richmond because he was like the Richmond youth guidance counselor, and he just like let me play these shows, and that was kind of the start. And then through him, met Luvens, who was the guy who used to run Lamplighter Monday Night Live, which is kind of
Okay. I've
yeah,
heard about that night.
yeah.
Was Emotions involved in that as well?
Yeah, Emotions took over from Luvens,
Okay.
and he ran it a little bit while it was at Lamplighter, and then while it moved over to Modern, he ran it for quite a while. He ran it for like quite a while, man. At least 5 or 6 years. Yeah, yeah, man.
That's pretty that's
That's kind of the path. That's kind of the
yeah.
path. Yeah.
Yeah, that's super cool that you had that opportunity to throw shows and just like be involved in the community in that sense. And I've heard that before as well from other people in Vancouver in that era, that like they would have a moment where they realized that, oh, I'm not like the only person um doing this, and I'm just doing it in my closet kind of thing. So
hmm
yeah,
hmm
man. Who were sort of your contemporaries in the Vancouver scene in that era?
Like people I looked up to, or
Yeah, people that were like coming up around the same time, and people that were maybe a few years ahead of you as well.
yeah, like I said, like Edge One.
Yeah,
Um,
and he's on Stomp Down now, I believe, right?
uh, yes, yeah, no, not Stomp Down, but Stealth Bomb. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah. But Mocha. Um, I mean, Imagination Street Trunk, right? Like we were kind of like we were doing shows at the same time those guys were, and DDR was dropping. And they just had crew stuff, like they were just like us, right? They just had a ton of rappers. They were always releasing stuff. So like really inspired by those guys, especially.
Yeah,
Yeah, man.
yeah. Imagination Street Trunk is like Vancouver classic shit for sure.
Yeah, I just remember like when Aspire and Azzy dropped that Tap Water album. That was so live. I still remember the set, man. It was so live.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah, man.
Aspire just going crazy off the top of the head. Yeah. Yeah. I moved in with Rosmo, who you obviously know. We lived
Yeah,
together
man.
for a couple years, and I'm not from Vancouver. I grew up in Whitehorse. Um and yeah, he just showed me all of like Imagination Tree Trunk albums, and lots of just Vancouver classic stuff that I probably wouldn't have heard about if it wasn't for Rosmo. So
Mhm.
yeah, it was really a really good experience for me to just get put onto all those great Vancouver albums, man.
Where so many people are from up north, eh? In the scene
Yeah,
right now, it's kind of crazy.
yeah,
Is
yeah.
that all one connection, or is it just all just everybody coming down here randomly?
Yeah, just I mean, for me, I moved down by myself.
Right.
Obviously, Kelvin with kids, I think he moved down by himself as well, and um, then Complex as well.
Complex, Jamie, yeah.
Yeah, Jamie. I feel like they were kind of in the same friend group,
Right,
um,
right, right, right.
and I think there's a few others that moved down
Yeah,
as
man.
well. But
So
yeah, yeah, no, I feel like it's just probably because Vancouver is like
closest
the
city.
closest city.
Yeah,
So anybody who wants to do anything musically just
sure.
kind of has to go there.
Makes
Um,
sense.
but yeah, I mean, it was a great move for me, and it was really inspiring. I moved to the city just around the time that Junk and Emotions were putting on the Strictly Cypher event. So that was a really, really cool, like community oriented event to dive into. And that's kind of like, I guess, what you could say my era was when I was in Vancouver. It's
Hmm
the
hmm
like Strictly Cypher era, and yeah, that was really cool, man. I feel like
Was that at Modern? Where were they throwing that?
at Cardam's actually.
Was that Cardinals? Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, pretty funny. Just like a bunch of dudes just freestyling in the middle of a donut shop, but it was like really generous of the owners to have us there and everything like that, man.
Yeah, man.
I feel like, I mean, I know Vancouver has had a reputation for having a clicky scene, but from the sounds of like your come up and from what I experienced in Vancouver, there's still some pretty solid community events that people have that bring people together, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, like I did some shows that were garbage, right? I mean, I'm sure you've done
Yes,
shows where like it was trash, right? But and there was
of
no
course.
community. But I try to look at the positive, man. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Some of the pay to play shows and everything like that in the city are, yeah, they can be pretty depressing. But I think Vancouver has a pretty underrated scene, to be honest. And I mean, part of that I would say is like illegitimate as well. You guys have an incredibly like stacked roster of talent, and yeah, I'd love to like hear a bit more about what illegitimate is and who's all in it, and what you guys have been up to.
Mm, that's a lot of questions. What is illegitimate? Just a bunch of friends, man. Like-minded individuals from all over the place. There's a bunch of random stories about how we got together, but yeah, we've managed to kind of like stay a group and keep releasing albums. Like a lot of groups, right? We have our ups and downs, times where some guys are doing a lot of stuff, some guys aren't, and vice versa, right? So, but that's what it takes, right? It's a family. So,
Yeah, yeah. And you guys have like members worldwide and everything as well, eh?
yeah, I mean, a few like a couple in Europe, one in Australia. Like most of us are from Van, but yeah, we're spread out.
Yeah. What's the collaboration process like um across continents and stuff like that? Is it pretty streamlined? Do you guys have it down pretty pat or
Yeah, I mean, we all got our places to record, right? I mean, like most people do the even if they don't have a huge home setup, they can like if you're an MC, it's smart to have like a mic or something, just really easy to throw out ideas, right? It used to be a lot harder. Now it's super easy, right? You don't have to be a genius now. So
yeah, yeah, totally. And you guys ran a pretty successful Kickstarter campaign. Were you involved in that pretty heavily or
yeah, Kyle Kraft helped a lot with that. Um, but we did like a whole course, like all of us. I
okay.
think like at least six guys did like a full on PowerPoint course that like we had like lessons that you had to like pass. Like we fully did like took it very seriously. Um from everything, right? You have to draw out basically your levels of influences from your close friends to your outer circles to your very outer circles, and kind of start from the middle and work out. But yeah, it's intense, man. Like there's a lot of aspects that I didn't think about. But it makes you kind of it's smart because it really gets your email list going. And that's something I've been slacking on because like, at any time, like all the internet stuff that we use for social stuff to get our fans the music, it could just go, right? And then all you got is what? Phone numbers, emails, right? That's all you got. So
Yeah. 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 Was it through Indiepreneur that you did the
Indie
course
Pool. Is it
or
Indie Pool? Oh, the course.
yeah.
I'm not sure about the course. It's a little while back. Um, but yeah, it was good. We had done. It's funny. We did a Kickstarter a year before, and it was very unsuccessful. And we tried to do it ourselves. Yeah, it was terrible. So it was good to like step back and just take a totally different approach.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah,
I've been for stuff that I'm trying to do, I've been diving into like very specific online courses. Um like in terms of how to run an audio like a successful audio business, there's a course for that. And I think artists really overlook often like how many resources there are, and maybe you have to shell out a little bit of money to like get this incredible advice, but I really think it's worth it, man.
totally, totally. Where are you going for these courses?
So I The one main course that I've been doing is called the Profitable Producer course. It's by a guy named Brian Hood, who he has actually a podcast as well called the Six Figure Home Studio Podcast. And it's really, really dope. I would say if you're anyone who offers like a service in music, whether you're a beat maker or an audio engineer or a recording engineer or whatever, um, it offers a lot of advice on how to run a business, which I mean, you know, for a lot of us creatives, like we've spent a lot of time on our craft and that's what we love to do, but a lot of us have no idea how to run a
Mhm.
business. Um, yeah, I mean, obviously like you beat make, you rap. Do you do mixing and mastering as well, or?
I don't like I mixed my own album, my solo album, I guess solo in quotations. But no, I always pass it off. I'm sure I could get it done, and like you said, there's a lot of courses out there now. Um, and I know the basics. Like, I recorded a verse yesterday, I'll put compression on it and I'll put the stuff on it to see what it's going to sound like in the mix. But I'll still send it off, right? Even if it's just to have a second set of ears on it, right? Aside from somebody who hasn't, like, I've been listening to the beat for how many hours just making the beat, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't want to mix it too.
Yeah, yeah. I've been thinking like if I put out a solo album, I don't know if I'll mix it just because I feel like for myself when I'm mixing, like I am so self-critical that I think I would end up overdoing it, you know?
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So who would you say are your biggest influences as an artist and as a beat maker as well?
DJ Premier. I listened to a lot of DJ Premier growing up. I never DJ'd, but I would say he was a pretty big influence in the music that he made. And the era was kind of my era. I grew up on a lot of at first I was listening to like a lot of the gangster stuff, um, the No Limit stuff, and like all the Rough Rider stuff, and that was kind of my thing growing up. But then it kind of switched over pretty quickly in the late '90s to like Wu Tang and Premier. So that was really like the stuff I came up on.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like I could definitely hear like um the 90s New York for sure. Yeah.
So
Um so then kind of to switch it up, I want to talk about your Beats and Eats videos. And yeah, I'd love to hear about what made you combine doing that. And yeah, yeah, like where did that idea come from?
originally the idea was like a few years back. Um, and it was I had a website domain for it, and I was going to do all this stuff, and it was going to be an interview show, and I was just coming up with the concepts, and it just never really took off. I had the artwork done by Filippo, one of our crew members, Soev. He does a lot of our artwork, and he's an amazing graph writer from Italy. Big up to him, and he designed that logo, um, and it just kind of stayed there for 2 years. And then the pandemic hit, and yeah, I don't know. There's like a little switch creatively for me. I wasn't making music for quite a while, and it just kind of put a lot of things into perspective for me, um, life wise, and kind of just everything. And I just wasn't using my time properly, and I just got right back into beats, and I was cooking a lot at the time as well. And I just said maybe and I started looking into, like you said, right, YouTube's so easy. So I started looking into like how to make one of those overhead videos. I have a pretty good phone. I got a good light. I got a little rig that I set up so I could have the overhead, and then I could just do all my chopping down below. And I just started doing it, like you saw, right? Like the first couple episodes, I was kind of trying to work out the fonts and trying to work out the look, and then slowly kind of figured out the workflow, and it became pretty easy. Yeah, man, that was kind of how it started.
Yeah. Such a cool idea, and like super inventive, and also just like getting to combine a couple passions, I think is also a pretty cool way of doing things, man.
Yeah, like I could have like put a little photo like I do now. I put a photo up and then that's how I play my beats, right? And I could have done that. I just wanted a different way, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
something a little bit different.
Yeah, absolutely. You said it was, sorry, what did you say at the beginning about having a website?
Yeah, like I purchased like a domain for it and everything.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
what you were gonna do, like, sorry, like a cooking show kind of thing, or?
yeah, it was gonna be a cooking show, cooking blog. Um,
Oh, sick, man. Do you think you'll ever resurrect that idea?
I've thought about the cooking show thing, and I'm still thinking about it. I'm just trying to figure out how I'm gonna do it, right? Because like it could be expensive. Like I'm just trying to. It could take a lot of time to do a weekly episode. Like I got to kind of think about it. You know what I mean? That over the head POV style is easy because it's just me. I can chop it. I was doing everything on my phone. I was recording it on my phone. I was chopping it on my phone. I did everything. Yeah, man. I use like this app, Viva Video. It's the greatest, man. For all creatives out there, I would get Viva Video. I pay $7 a year for it. Man, I'm sure there's other apps that do pretty good stuff for a little bit more money, but
Yeah.
this did everything for me.
Wow, that's
Yeah, man.
crazy.
Yeah.
I can definitely say, as someone who's doing like a weekly thing, is it's like, I mean, in terms of editing, mine is pretty light, but it's definitely like it's definitely a task to get it done like every week.
Yeah, and
I
if
would
you're
say.
like a couple of days later, like you went on a vacation or something, it's
Yeah.
like, oh, now you're playing catch up, and then like the next week, and it gets crazy, right? So by the end of it, I was like, it was getting tough, right? And I just thought like, I'm not really inspired to really keep doing the same thing, the overhead thing. So I want to reinvent it and come up with something different. But I do plan on releasing like a instrumental album, um, which I'll have Kelvin mix and master for me, so it'll sound really nice and crisp. Um, but then I want to do something kind of special with the presentation of it. I just kind of haven't wrapped my head around it yet, but
Mm, for the presentation of the album.
yeah, yeah, like something like because every beat will be named after like it'll be like um, I'll have like grilled salmon will be the name of the beat, right? Like, and it'll be that kind of like goulash will be a name of the beat, right? Like papusa would be a name of the beat, and I'll just have it like that. But then it'd be cool to have the recipe in some format. So it wouldn't really be possible with like wouldn't be possible really with Spotify. But could be something I could do with Bandcamp with like a PDF. I don't know. There's different ways, or like on YouTube when I have the whole track, when I have the whole album playing, I could have it like flip through pages, kind of like there's different ways.
Wow.
I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, yeah. Do you think you would do like a beats and eats video for each track?
Like video, like a music video.
Well, like just the like the beats and eats video. Yeah, like just for each one you could do the recipe, right?
Right.
I don't want to be here like putting too much work on your
No, no, it's cool. The clock is creative, right? Like that's what we're on right now,
yeah,
right? Like so we
yeah,
might as well be creative. No, no.
yeah.
So you mean like okay, so here's goulash. This is the one beat. So like I'd put that instead of having like the video I already have of me chopping up everything and cooking everything, just have the ingredients and the recipe kind of like flipping pages.
Oh no, I was thinking like doing like cooking the recipe for like, but do one for each video or for
Well, I
each
already
song,
have that,
sorry.
but I already have that for each one.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Sorry,
Yeah.
yeah, the album will be all instrumentals from the ones that I've already done. So like season one instrumentals.
Ah, gotcha. Okay,
Yeah,
okay, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Cool, man. Cool.
yeah.
Hmm. That's, yeah, such a clever idea, man.
Thank you, man.
What's what's your favorite dish and beat combination on the project?
The pupusas.
Okay.
Those were really challenging to make, and I even got hate for it. Like people were like, "Yeah, that's not how it's done." Like it's tough, man. Like a stuffed like pastry, like it's very tough to make for the first time, you know what I mean? And like a lot of technique that like grandmothers master, you know what I mean? So like I had lessons from a homie, but like it's tough. Right? Yeah. So that was fun though. I like a challenge though. So that was fun. I love the beat. It's like like a South American flute beat. It's really cool.
Oh, yeah. Cool, man. I was gonna say, like, if you did it for your first time on camera, that is super ballsy. But you test drove it before you did it on camera, or
No,
no?
no.
Oh man.
Yeah, it was
That's
edible.
awesome.
It
Yeah.
was edible. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The dough was maybe a little bit too thick, but it was fine. Like the dough was tasty. It's corn, right? It's like corn masa, so it's like it was
Okay.
tasty.
Cool. Cool.
Yeah.
How do you make the corn
Uh,
pastry?
well, yeah. Well, it's like have you ever had tamale? You never had tamale, but you've had like, I mean, a lot of Mexican street food is like corn masa. They call it, right? It's like corn flour, basically, and they'll mix it with lard. They'll make tamales out of it. If you never had a tamale, man, you gotta go have a tamale.
Yeah. 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 Cool. I will.
Yeah, man.
Cool. What's your favorite Mexican food, man?
I love tamales, man. Now that we're on that topic, yeah, man. It's basically like a corn dough. It's like pretty oily, like it's pretty soft. And then they'll put like traditionally it'll just be like shredded meat, whether it's like a carnita kind of thing or like a shredded beef, and then they might put cheese in it. But you can get crazy with it. You can put potatoes, you can put olives, you can make a vegetarian have like you could have like peppers, like smoked peppers or something. You could do whatever, and then you roll it up in a corn husk, and then you steam it for like 45 minutes, and then you have like salsa and sour cream.
Yeah.
Bang bang.
Oof.
It's so good, man.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like an enchilada. It's kind of like an enchilada, but more dough.
Okay.
Does that
Okay.
make sense?
Cool. Yeah. Totally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and before the show, we were talking about Asian food as well. Have you traveled in Asia much, or?
Yeah. When I was pretty young, my grandparents really believed in like each me and my brother and like all their grandkids having like a kind of an eye-opening trip in our kind of our mid-teens. So they thought that was really important. They weren't like rich by any means, but they thought it was important for us to see things. And I think it is after I saw them. But I got to go to South Asia, Vietnam, with my dad when I was like 14. So that was pretty cool. And it really introduced me into Asian food. But I grew up in Richmond, right? So um, I was introduced to Asian food at a pretty young age, and it's a lot of the things that I cook right now. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, man.
Super cool. I spent a little bit of time in Southeast Asia as well. And yeah, just so many like incredible meals just off of a random food cart in the middle of the street.
So many ingredients that like we don't get over here.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's so
Absolutely.
many ingredients everywhere that like don't travel well, and you just don't get to see them,
I know.
or you don't get to see them in their best form, right?
Yeah. 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 It's, yeah, it's kind of sad to think about, but I guess good excuse to get out there and travel to the food, eh?
Yeah, man, absolutely.
Yeah, man. So yeah, I just have one question for you before we wrap up the show. Um, just want to know what impact you want to leave with your creativity and the things that you do.
Oof. Yeah, I mean, I got kids, so a lot of what I do is for them. A lot of like it sounds so like obvious, but just showing them kind of that like you can literally do anything that you want to. There's a lane for everybody. Um, yeah, just leaving a memory. I mean, as much as we try, right? Like you're around and then you're gone, and maybe they remember you for a few generations, right? But like even Beethoven. he's going to get forgotten, is almost forgotten, right? So like, and that was like, I don't know how many, 500 years ago, right? So, you know, I'll try to leave a mark, but really I'm doing it to set an example for everybody coming up. Yeah, man. That's really important to me, I think. Community.
Yeah, that's really awesome, man. I haven't had that answer on the show yet, and I really like that one, man.
Dope.
Yeah. Just before we wrap it up, do you want to let people know where people can find you online, check out your videos, all that stuff?
Yeah, Instagram,
Okay.
Scythe_beats and eats. That's kind of where I keep all my I upload all my beats on a weekly basis. If you go into the IGTV section there, you'll see all the 15 episodes of beats and eats that I did. Illegitimate.com. You can find all of our work, all of our merchandise, shirts, all our albums. We're on Spotify, Illegitimate, Ill-Legitimate, Scythe, all that stuff.
Cool.
Yeah,
cool,
man.
Thanks so much for taking the time, Seth. I really appreciate it, and it was nice to chop it up. And I mean, we've been in the same sort of circles for the past couple of years, but yeah, it's nice to meet you and chat, man.
Yeah, man. Hopefully we'll get to shake hands soon.
Yeah.
But thanks for having me, dude. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, no, my pleasure, really. All right, so I want to thank Mike for taking the time to sit down with me and share his ideas and share his origin story about his time in Vancouver. I think I really enjoyed his reason that drives him to create nowadays, of just setting an example for his kids. I think it's really important to show the younger generation that we value creativity and instill in them that it is something valuable, because as an overall culture, I don't think we place enough value on creativity. It's celebrated in some ways and then sort of disdained in other ways, and I think creativity is something that is inherent in everyone, and we need to express it to live more fully and live more truly to ourselves. So I think setting an example for the younger generation as creatives is an incredible reason to sit down and do your work every day. And the other thing that I think is really valuable, and something that I discovered sort of over the past year, is we spoke about online courses and mentorship. And I know I've mentioned in the intros that I'm doing a social media mentorship right now. And I've also been doing these online courses about how to run a home studio. And I'm trying to push my artist friends to do stuff like this, because I've found it incredibly valuable and powerful to learn directly from people who are closer to where I want to be than where I am. So I know that Indiepreneur does great courses. If you're a producer or an audio engineer, I really suggest checking out Brian Hood's podcast and his Profitable Producer course. And I know that there's tons of different stuff throughout the world, and also Soundfly as well, which is where I'm doing my social media mentorship from. I really think that this is really powerful stuff, and I wish more artists would take advantage of this era that we're living in the digital era, where we can have these courses for extremely niche needs. Like, instead of taking a small business course for myself and trying to translate all of these ideas from broad concepts and trying to translate it to my home studio, there's literally a course for building your home studio business. And I think we're really lucky to be living in a time where the internet can create these communities for these very small niches. And I think that we should take advantage of it. If you're an artist, there's so many education opportunities for learning how to do your craft or do the business side of things, which is what I've been trying to promote a little bit with my vlogs as well. So yeah, I'm just really glad that we touched on it, because it's not something that I've spoken about publicly, but I think that we should take advantage of this time that we're living in and do these awesome little niche courses that exist. Those are the two sort of inspiring points from the interview that I wanted to come back to. And again, thanks to Mike, and thank you for listening. And follow me at MuseWorks Audio if you're enjoying all the content that I'm putting out. And other than that, take care of yourself and be safe out there in these times, and check in next week for another brand new episode. Take care.